play after. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to share with you this really helpful presentation on how to find time for creative self-care. I'm going to show you how you can make the ultimate mindset shift from struggling to find the time and feeling stressed to finding pockets of opportunities to practice self-care. So this is what this whole session is going to be about, is kind of helping you reframe different ideas and options of how you can actually incorporate more of that creative lifestyle into your current schedule. And if you stay with me until the end, typically in these workshops, I like to start them out with a brief guided meditation, just to kind of like take a few deep breaths in and out. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I won't be leading that today, but I do have an audio that I prepared for you. This guided meditation is all about stress relief. So if that is your jam, stay until the end, and I will be dropping a link to access that file. And then one more ask of you, if you would silence your phones, close out any extra windows. I want to make sure that you get the most out of this time with me together, so that, you know, if you have any distractions, then that might kind of like distract you from paying attention. So highly recommend, you know, kind of making that space for yourself so that you can get the most out of this. And another thing that I wanted to also kind of briefly share with you is this quick creative exercise. And again, not going to show you a demo, but I can explain it to you because it's so simple. This exercise is called bilateral drawing. And the whole idea is that you take one pencil in one hand, another pencil in another hand, or it can be any kind of, you know, writing utensil. It can even be a watercolor brush. But you just grab them in both of your hands and you start doodling on a piece of paper at the same time with both of your arms, like making maybe large gestures, or if it's like a small piece of paper, maybe a little bit smaller. But the whole idea of this is whenever we are engaging both of our hands, we are engaging both sides of our brain. And this exercise, I like to do it kind of as a warm up before I do anything creative, because it really helps me disconnect from my thoughts and focus instead on what's right in front of me on the paper. And I promise you, like, just give this a try for like 2 or 3 minutes and see how, like, it's gonna be so hard to either have a conversation or think of something while you're doing this, because it requires like so much of your attention, which is like a good kind of outcome of this exercise. Is it helps you, instead of like, if that inner critic is coming up and saying, oh, you know, I can't draw this or I can't do this, well, try this exercise, because it will help you kind of tune out those thoughts naturally. And like physiologically, your brain will just not be able to think of anything else because it's such an intensive task. So this is kind of like a brief representation of the doodles in the two hands that I wanted to share with you today. And I'm curious, which one are you, if you're attending today, you know, are you excited? Maybe you're curious, maybe you just miss being creative. If you could let me know in the chat if you want to share, you know, are you 1, 2, or 3? Maybe you're a little bit of all of them. And I just want to say that no matter the reason of why you're here, I'm here for you. And I just am super grateful for this time together. So just wanted to share that briefly. And a little bit about me, if you're not super familiar, my name is Volta Voloshin-Smith. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an illustrator. I also do animations. And my most favorite thing of all is to lead these kinds of creative and watercolor workshops. I'm originally from Moldova, and I founded Color Snack as a way to encourage creativity and mindfulness through art. I super believe in the power of art, how it can heal us. So I've just been on a mission to share that ever since. And I've also taught thousands of students in person and online workshops. And that has just kind of been my most favorite and rewarding thing of this whole journey so far. All right, sweet friends. So finding the time to be creative is the most powerful way you can practice self-care to protect your mental health. So I'm about to like share a couple of things with you. So why creative activities, of any kind, whether there be visual or like auditory, if you're singing, there are so many. So aside from just like the kind of general like feel good, positive emotions that we associate with creativity, I want to share with you that there's like actual like studies, scientific studies that have been done to show how powerful art making can be for someone. Like the beauty of it is that it doesn't matter the experience that you have with it. It's just about doing it that can be super beneficial for our mental health. So why creative activities are good for you, they reduce stress, they can boost self-esteem, because when we try a new technique or try a new thing, and after repeating it a couple of times and we finally get it, that feels really good, it helps us enhance concentration, which of course naturally just your brain, if you have something in front of you that you have to pay attention to, drawing and sketching and whatnot, you are absolutely going to have to focus on that. So that is a great way to kind of practice our focus. It's a wonderful way to practice mindfulness because it takes you into the present moment. It's also a wonderful way to kind of gain a sense of control. So especially in the last 3 years, we all know the difficulty of what was going on in the world, and those just kind of not feeling like in control. I remember oftentimes coming back to my sketchbook and just doodling in there, doing some kind of like very simple art just to kind of relieve that stress, because whereas there might be things happening in our lives that we literally cannot control, this is a simple practice that we can, so it can kind of help us feel a little better because we found this one thing that we can actually control and do whatever we want with it. And also it's like such a great way for self-expression and building resiliency. So art making has been shown to help people practice their self-reflection or even processing very heavy emotions, due to loss or any kind of like just difficult feelings. It's just such a great way to, instead of like keeping that all inside bottled up, you get to release it. And also practice that kind of disconnection from your thoughts by physically just engaging yourself and visually with that art piece or whatever the sketch that you're doing. And finally, my favorite thing of why creativity or creative activities are good for you is that it increases those positive emotions. So also another study that has been done in the art releases dopamine. So unfortunately, the social media platforms of our modern day are kind of abusing this notion of, because every time, we scroll through, we get that hit of dopamine and they're kind of using that against us. Well, by investing time in your self-care, into practicing, and creating something in your sketchbook, you can kind of take back a little bit of that control. So even anytime you feel the pull to, check your social media, because honestly, like I struggle with it too. I'm just like you, like I want to see what's the latest. And sometimes I get kind of lost in it, and then I see like an hour went by and I'm like, wow, I could have been sketching. So just wanted to share that with you, because it's like, as long as we have that awareness, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for us to take those actions where we can reverse it. So then that brings me to the question, do you want to be more creative? Let me know in the chat, but I'm going to assume that since you're here, the answer is probably yes, because that's kind of like the whole theme of this. So let me show you the different ways. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you to define your why. And if you're comfortable with sharing in the chat, feel free to do that. I would love to hear your thoughts. But anytime that we are trying to build a new habit, whether it be creative or for our health, anything like that, it's very important to define the why and try to ask yourself at least 7 times of like, why is it that this habit, this particular thing, this activity that you want to embrace and integrate into your life? Like, why is that so important to you? And a few slides back, I gave you some ideas of actually, it like builds resilience, it helps with self-esteem. There's so many wonderful ways of, or like reasons of why we should do something creative. But what is your personal why? I'll share with you my why has been, I've had generalized anxiety for very many years, probably my whole life, if I'll be honest. And I also struggle with depression. So my why stems from the idea that whenever I engage in something creative, it helps me disconnect from my thoughts. It definitely like helps lower my anxiety because I have to be so immersed into what I'm doing that it just like is another way to manage those symptoms. And I'm not saying in any way that this is a replacement for like seeking therapy or medicine, because I engage in those myself, but just wanted to share that it is absolutely a great way to kind of complement with whatever it is that you're doing. If you're struggling with these things like me, then art can be such a tool for healing in that way. And then also wanted to share this quote, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. So the reason of why we want to define the why is so that whenever things come up in our life, and they surely will, you'll forget that you even have a sketchbook. I've been there. But if your why is strong, and if you are aware of it, and maybe you even have it on a post-it note in your room or on your mirror, you will always find a way to kind of get back into that activity, get back into that habit. But it has to be like a very emotional why. So, try to dig deep and then realize like, what is the why that whenever you respond to it, it just like makes you feel something inside. And that's that why that you're looking for to help you get back into that creative habit. And this is probably one of my favorite quotes of all time. So creativity isn't something that you have, it's something that you do, by Jim Kwik. And I just wanted to share that with you because for the longest time, I myself have thought that, well, I'm not creative. How can I be also creative? I see other people being creative. Like, how do you do that? Is it something that you're born with? I don't know. Well, whenever I kind of came across this quote, it gave me so much hope because it really is such a great way to think about creativity as a muscle. So like the more you work out, the easier it will become. Like sure, at first you might be a little stiff or sore, but eventually the more you show up for that activity, the easier it will become. So the best way to be creative is to do something creative. And the more that we do it, the easier it will come. All right, so let's get into our tips. So I know sleep is very precious to all of us. We probably never get enough of it anyway, but if I could just recommend that you wake up at least just maybe 15 minutes before your alarm, just 15 minutes earlier, and spend that time because, it'll be kind of early in the morning. You won't have hopefully you won't be checking your emails right away. You'll wait for 15 minutes, but you'll have that time just for yourself to pour into yourself. And really just give it a shot, because anytime that I've personally done it, and I know some of my friends have also tried this technique, is you feel so much better. Like your day has already started on a win because you did this one activity that was really important to you. And you'll notice that your mood is a lot better. And, as a result of you pouring into yourself first, you're able to show up a lot better for the people in your life throughout your day. And if that is not an option, maybe you could, have a sketchbook right by your bed. So instead of, scrolling through social media before you go to bed, I only say that because I'm also guilty of it. Always trying to work on that balance with social media. But instead of doing that, you could just maybe spend like 10 to 15 minutes doodling something really quick in your sketchbook, something that inspired you, or even just playing with colors. Like it doesn't have to be anything super complex, as long as you're just showing up for this creative habit, this creative self-care. you could give up TV. And I know, I love my Netflix shows myself. There's so much good stuff on there. But what if you could, find a show that doesn't involve a lot of your attention so that you can kind of have it in the background where you feel like miss some things, it's totally okay. But you could also, at the same time, while you're enjoying that show, and maybe that's a family activity and you're watching something together, well, you could also be doodling on the side. So kind of like a little bit of multitasking, but obviously be aware that because you're doing sketching, you'll probably miss some plot points in the show, and that's okay because you are investing in yourself during that time. An accountability buddy is super helpful. I have a few of these buddies in my life for different areas. And I've found that it's so helpful because it just takes a matter of 30 seconds. Like after you finish your sketch, you can take a photo and text it to your friend. You don't even have to say anything in the text like, hey, I showed up, but this is what I did, if you don't want to. But it's just like a quick accountability way of helping you stay on track and showing up for yourself. And whenever we see other people in our life doing the same, definitely helps kind of maintain that good habit. So highly recommend this as well. You could include your family. So maybe you could have a large piece of paper on your dining room table where after you have a meal, you can just doodle together and kind of help spread that energy of creativity, of creating together, or even like sketching inside one sketchbook, or like taking turns, or like everyone walks around and like does a little doodle, and then at the end you kind of see what happens. And it could be such a fun way of, if you're pressed for time, but you still want to do something creative, you could also include your family with this. Another important aspect of maintaining a creative habit is you want to start super small. So think like snack size. Guys, if you guys know me, I love my snacks. So I had to make this analogy work, but essentially, like, even if you show up for your creative habit for start with just 2 minutes, show up with the very so small that you can't say no, where it's like you just have to, even if you have to sketch one line in your sketchbook and you're like, this is how I showed up today. And you know what? That's absolutely okay. The whole point of this is that you want to build a continuous habit. So the more that you show up, the more you're essentially kind of, marking a yes check mark. Like, I voted for this one activity that I wanted to show up for. I did it. And it doesn't matter if it was 2 minutes or 15, the end goal is that you showed up. And I want to help you kind of see that, because I know we don't always have a lot of time to dedicate to ourselves, but if we just practice these little bits of kind of activities throughout our day, or maybe at a specific time in the day where you're like, this is my 2-minute creative break, you absolutely engage that, because it's so worth it for your mental health. You could also engage in a creative lunch. So the picture on the left is me back, I think it was like eight or more years ago. I was working at JCPenney headquarters, and I would bring my watercolor supplies to lunch. And then after, JCPenney, I worked at a few other places, and the picture on the right is at an agency that I worked at, where I would invite all of my coworkers to come and doodle and have a creative break with me. So we would eat our lunch really quickly, and then we'd go either outside or in the lobby. And you'll see that the squares that we painted on were really small. And the reason for that is that you want to make it, again, so small that you can't say no, and it's so easy to fill out and kind of get that dopamine hit again. It makes you happy, yes, I did this, and I played with some color, check mark. So definitely don't discount that. Anytime you have a meal, you can always incorporate sketching or something creative with it. Or you could do it while you wait. So recently I went to the dentist, and even though my appointment started at 9, I had to wait for 25, 30 minutes, I think, before I actually got into the room. And so I had my sketchbook with me. So luckily I just, was like, okay, this is my time. I'm not even mad about it. This is my time to maybe do something creative. So kind of think ahead if you have any activities where maybe it's like your kid's soccer practice or something like that, where, you kind of have to be there and you have to be somewhat engaged, but you can still kind of do something on the side. Well, it's a great opportunity to do something creative. So I share with you all these tips, and you might think, okay, Volta, I have 5 minutes to do something creative. And a lot of times we start thinking, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to paint. I have some time and I don't know what to do. And so you start kind of spending a lot of time researching or trying to see like, what is it that I could do? So let me share with you a couple of ideas that to get you started. I highly recommend keeping an idea bank. And you want to basically like think of any objects, things that kind of inspire you, that grab your attention, and just write them down and make a list and constantly update it as you see it, like throughout your week or your day. If you notice a new thing that could kind of spark your interest, definitely write it down. It's next time that you have those 5-10 minutes to do something creative, you will already kind of have an idea list to pull from. Another important thing is to prepare your tools. They must be super easy to access, because again, you don't want to waste that precious time, that very little time that you have in, having to open drawers and find supplies and decide like, do I want to use this pencil or do I want to use this pen? I don't know. So highly recommend that you have those supplies ready to go. And my personal recommendation is to have to start away right off the bat, you could just have a sketchbook and a pen or a pencil. Of course, I'm biased towards watercolors because watercolors are fun. So I recommend including a watercolor set. It could be small or larger. And then a water brush pen, because those are super portable, so you can take those anywhere. And then finally, important thing is you want to make sure all those items fit really nicely inside one pouch. So that could be like one pouch of like creative self-expression. And I want to share, if you could see, I don't know if you can see me. This is the pouch that I use. I will disclaimer, I actually prefer like the see-through pouches because I want to know what supplies are inside. But with that particular pouch, I already know what's in it because I've always just keep the same items in there. So I'm okay that it's like not see-through, it's not transparent. But something to keep in mind that I found helpful in the past is, I like when I immediately can tell like what's inside of a pouch, and it kind of drives me crazy when I can't. But unless I know ahead, and it's okay. All right, so a few ideas to get you started to fill up your sketchbook. You can do color swatches. So this is a really fun way to get to know what kind of colors and paints you have. Here I decided to turn them into little carrots. You can totally do that with your swatches, turn them into something else. You can paint, plants that are around you or outside or in your office. You could do people sketches. This is actually one that I did during a Zoom conference. It was some kind of event, and honestly, I just was just doodling along. I was like, I'm just gonna sketch these people because I'm kind of bored, and it helped me pay attention more to the content. But it's a great way to kind of entertain yourself, and also you're part of the meeting, but you also kind of doing something creative on the side. You could do paint found objects. So I went on a hike with my parents and we found a bunch of wild mushrooms and flowers, and so I decided to paint them. You could do your favorite cocktails. You could do a series of repeating patterns or any kind of rainbow type of shapes. I think rainbows are such a great way to kind of get those happy feelings going. I don't know, rainbows just make me happy. And I know I'm not the only one, but please let me know if you feel like rainbows are not fun for you. Then don't do them. All right, so then you could do your favorite snacks. Again, I guess I had a theme of carrots going on. You could do ocean life. You could also paint the contents inside of your fridge or items around the kitchen. I mean, there's so much different inspiration that you can find along the way. Just whatever like grabs your attention, like do that. You could do loose landscapes. I find those really kind of they're very fun to loosen up because you use a lot of water and like it kind of gets some unexpected bleeds and fun. Like it's a really great way, let me say, to practice like letting go of perfectionism, because it's like not going to be perfect. It's just going to be like very flowy, a little messy, but that's the beauty of it. Or you could you could fill up your sketchbook with watercolor meditations. And some of you may know that I have recently launched my course, Watercolor Meditations, and I'm excited to share it with you today. So with this whole session, you've got two options. Like you could either jumpstart your creativity, creative habit by yourself, spending time researching things, or we could do it together. So let me show you what's inside the Watercolor Meditation online course. And real quick, by joining this course, you'll be able to tap into mindfulness with visual watercolor meditations that combine breathing exercises with simple brush marks. And the whole reason is to kind of get you feeling more calm, because whenever you're feeling more calm, you're able to be more creative. So here's what's inside of the 5 modules. Each module will be released once per week, and then at the end you'll have lifetime access to the content. So I have introduction to watercolors and meditation, creative unblocking, building color confidence, self-compassion with watercolors, and expanding your creativity. And the whole structure of this course is that you'll start off with a few bite-sized lessons that share methods and tips that have helped me with my creative mindset. And this is stuff that I've learned over the past decade. And then we're going to integrate all that knowledge through watercolor meditations. So these are some of the examples of the kind of watercolor exercises that you'll get to do while inside the class with my instruction. Bonus, also, if you join me by March 28th, you'll be able to join my stress-free floral watercolor workshop. And honestly, I am just so excited to launch this class, and also really so inspired by all the flowers all around me that I was like, I'm looking for a reason to paint flowers together with someone. So if you join by the 28th, you'll get access to this, and the replay will also be available if you can't make it live. And finally, sweet friend, I am not special. Like, I didn't go to art school. I never had an art coach or a mentor. I just have my own experience of proven method that has helped me unblock creativity and live a more calmer and happier life. And I desperately want to share that with everyone. And your investment in the creative journey is $97. Like I realized I created a lot of, there's a lot of lessons in each of the modules. So this is probably the lowest it will ever be, because there's a lot of value that I included. So compared to a traditional workshop that I've done, it goes a lot more in depth into helping you build that creative practice and creative habit. So finally, the question is, will you join me? I'm going to drop in the chat a link to the course. If, after reading it, if it resonates with you, if you feel like, yeah, this sounds fun, I would love to have you in the course. Also wanted to mention, like, the first 20 people that sign up will also get an original watercolor painting of a very soothing, relaxing landscape. So I'll be kind of reaching out to everyone after that. But let's see if anyone has any questions. Let me know in the chat. Thank you so much to everyone that's been able to tune in. How long is the module? So it's an interesting question. I would say at most it's probably 30 minutes, but it has bite-sized lessons that you can do. You could just do one at a time. If you have 5 minutes, you can just kind of do that. And then the watercolor meditations themselves Some are short, but as you progress through the course, they become a little longer so that, you know, if you want to spend more time and kind of doing a more deeper kind of a creative experience, you have that option, or you can, you know, do something a little bit more like kind of pared down. Thank you so much. Let's see. Donna, what platform is the course? The course is on Podia, which, you know, when you sign up, you'll just have to create a quick account. And I've so far been really enjoying using that platform. And the live workshop will be done via Zoom, and then the replay will be added into the course as like a bonus module at the end. All right. Well, if anyone has any other questions, otherwise I don't want to keep you all. I know we're all busy, we have things to do, and hopefully this weekend you have some time to dedicate to your creative self practice and do something fun just for yourself, even if it's like 10-15 minutes. Like every time you show up matters, and it counts, and it'll make you feel better. All right. Let's see, what if, Donna, question, what if we have problems using Podia? If you do, let me know. So far, I've not had anyone reach out to me about any problems or issues with the platform. I've only, like, from my own experience, I've had a great experience myself, and other people that have been using it too. So hopefully that'll be your experience as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again for your time.